Hi, how you doing? My name is Catherine, and this is the Simply Chatting podcast. We talk about mental health, business, and everything in between. Today we have a special guest, and I'm very excited. This is one of the first guests on my podcast, and I can't wait to get into this because I know you'll love this person. Before we get into it, though, just make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, and let's get into it. So, like I said, I have a guest today, and her name is Tiffany Day. I'm very excited for her to be on this show because I was thinking to myself, who would I want to be on here and who could give me the best, possible tips and tricks and advice and just everything. And so you just came up in my head. I was like, Tiffany, I need to ask her. You've just got this brilliant and amazing personality, and people can connect with you, So, Tiffany, I would love you to introduce yourself. Just give a little bit of background on who you are and just what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hi. Thank you so much. I was so excited when you asked me. I was like, because I saw you were doing a podcast. I was like, oh, that's cool. And then you asked, and I was like, oh, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
But my name is Tiffany Day. I am a full-time content creator. I started my very first channel back in 2018, kind of dove into the motherhood niche. So I actually have two children. When I started, I only had one. So it was just a way for me to have a creative outlet, because unfortunately at that time I had just lost my job that I worked so hard for. I always thought I was going to be a career mom. I am a big fan of like Devil Wears Prada. I just wanted to be nicer. But I just love that like office cubicle and like running errands. And I don't know, I had the corporate dream. And when it, when I had kids, things changed. And I was like, I can't continue to work and be disposable to these companies. I have a child. And so I looked for, what are some work from home jobs that I could do, and landed on YouTube. And I've loved it ever since and been able to like build a business off of it. Started my second channel last year. It's been a year already. Yeah. 2020. And like the midst of everyone, it basically was a calling because, during that time, obviously the shutdowns and the pandemic and everything else. And I knew what it felt like to just have your job just kind of ripped from underneath you without an outlet. And you're like, what do I do? So I wanted to be that voice to be like, I get it. And there is another option, and, give people another option. So yeah, I started navigating YouTube, and I'm loving it. It's just a totally different vibe and community than the motherhood channel, but I love both of them. And I feel like I'm finally right where I need to be. So
Right. Yeah, I know. I've been following you since I don't even know how I find you. I think I find you through Nessa, maybe Nessa, maybe her. And I was like, whoa, I love it. I got whenever I went onto your channel, I was just like, oh, I'm there. I'm connected already. I'm invested in this. You know what I mean? So
thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been good. And then I've kind of been watching your other channel too. So let me ask the question. How everybody's probably listened to this, they followed me because how to start a YouTube channel. So obviously the question that I'm going to ask you, and you probably explained this a lot on your YouTube channel, which you can all check out, but how do you start a channel? And like, how do you navigate YouTube to start another channel at the same time? Like if you've got one that you've got going on, right, and you started a channle, how do you start another? Can you answer that? Maybe to give some tips and advice there?
So I know this is so cliche, but you just start. You guys, I did not have anything fancy. I started with my cell phone, which I actually have the same. Oh no, I switched. I forgot. I started with an LG. I'm on Samsung now. I'm an Android person.
Right.
But, I started with my cell phone. I did not know how to edit. I don't know any of this, like tech stuff. I did not know. I literally would just sit down in my room with my camera and chat for 5 minutes, and I called them 5-minute phone blogs, and I just chat about how my life was as a mom, what frustrations I had, that's all I did. And then I would literally upload, like no edit, straight from the phone, raw footage.
Go for it.
And if I could do that and have almost 30,000 subscribers now, like anyone can do it, So you just start, and you kind of just find yourself along the way. Like it took 6 months before I was like, okay, there's something here. There's a strategy. I started to learn the business side, which really tapped into, like, I come from a business background, and I was like, oh, this makes sense, you know? But yeah, I always hear too, should I start a second channel? And I would say no, unless your first channel is able to run itself. Because like I took my family like moved and we went through a lot, but I took 4 months off and I still grew over 3,000 subscribers, and my AdSense never changed. It was like I was still uploading content every single day. And that's how I knew, okay, if I can take breaks and, you know, my stats stay the same, my channel's running itself, I can then break off and do another channel.
Right. Yeah, no, you have a pretty successful channel. And I was looking at your other channel the other day too, and it's just some videos that, you know, took off. And you know, whenever you're doing YouTube, you're always like, so I should just start. And then when you get into it, you're like, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But whenever you get into it now, like a lot of people will say, how do I grow and how do I do this and how do I do that? But you obviously, I know how. Like I know, because I go on your channel and I'm instantly like, oh, that one, and that one. And I already know, but for someone that's just starting out, or maybe they've started into it, you know, like what should you look out for whenever you are starting a channel? Like, is there something there?
So the first thing is a lot of people focus on the algorithm, and this could be like even faults of channels like my own, like, you know, we're always like, how to beat the algorithm, how to get more views, but really at the end of the day, it comes down to who are you trying to connect with? Like, it is humans that watch our content. And so you have to like connect on a human level. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter if you can beat the algorithm, you know? The people aren't going to come back.
It definitely comes down to a wee bit of your personality. And let's like I keep telling people, like, there's a lot of ingredients that need to be mixed around in perfect video and growing your channel and everything, right? And sometimes if you don't have that one side of it, it's not going to push, you know what I mean? So definitely the personality aspect. And I get that with your channel as well. Like with you as a person, I see how well you are to connect with a person. And whenever you're watching your mommy videos, even like you can see that you're giving your real self, right?
Oh yeah, I am. And that was like, whenever someone's like, okay, but I hate this term, my niche is oversaturated. I'm like, no, it's not. You just have not found what's missing in your niche. And, you know, in the motherhood, it's better now, but when I started, I was even feeling the pressures to be perfect, and the, you know, curated lifestyle and the 5 a.m. morning routines where like butterflies are flying behind you. And it's like, that's not motherhood, but that's how it was like depicted online. And I found myself curating my videos like that at first. And I was like, okay, that's not my life. I do not have matching pajamas. Like, I bought these on purpose to film this video. Like, what am I doing? So I really had to step back, and, you know, this probably is the big videos that you saw. I stepped back and I said, what am I here for? Who am I here for? And I got as specific as I could. It wasn't just moms. It was moms that were postpartum or pregnant, you know, really in the first year of birth to, you know, labor, who were struggling with normal mom things, you know, postpartum depression, anxiety, breastfeeding. And so when I started to give value in that form, that's when I noticed that my channel started to take off. And of course, like, I would still do vlogs, and that's where you have to understand, not every single video is going to be a breakout video, going to be a viral video. Yeah. And so, you know, I know which videos I produce are going to go viral, and I know which videos I produce are for me and my core audience, and we're going to get a couple hundred views, and that's completely okay. So yeah, that's kind of what I did. And of course, when I started the second channel, I really was like, okay, there is a ton of how to start YouTube, how to do this, what's missing. And it was the fact that there's not a lot of people who teach lifestyle tips. And so I wanted to be that missing link. I wanted to be the person I needed 3 years ago for anyone else coming after me. So.
Right. And you know what I noticed the other day, I was thinking like, at these like big conferences that you go to, there's not a lot of, you know, the lifestyle work, you know, like giving you tips and advice on that, you know? And I was thinking to myself, like, if any of those creators actually went and spoke, they would have a huge fault. Like there's a missing part to that. And that's note that even for yourself in the industry, like noting where you're specific to a specific niche, almost a niche, whatever it is. But, you know, like the lifestyle. I think a lot of the how-tos is very general and over the board kind of deal, but with yours is, that's interesting to note that there was a missing piece there.
Yeah, and that's where it really comes into, I always talk about the human connection, because for lifestyle bloggers, like, yes, you see, you know, how to turn your YouTube channel into a funnel to land clients, how to do this, to do that. But it's like, okay, you're basically you're serving them something, right? Like a product or a service. With lifestyle bloggers, we're serving ourselves. So it's like, you have to get them to fall in love with you. And how do you do that? By being yourself, you know, and you attract your tribe. So
that's right. That's right. The next question I have for you is, how do you balance it all? I know that term balance. And this question is very generic. And, you know, you probably knew that it was coming. But for me, I literally want to know how you do it, because you have two channels. Like, I do have two channels, but I'm not like super into the other one. I just do it for fun kind of deal. And, but for you, it's like both of them, you're very invested in them. You have a business on this, like, and then you've got kids, and like, how?
So funny, because today's video I posted a couple hours ago is literally a week in my life on batching content, and still in there people are like, okay, but how? I'm like, I showed you. But there is one, I'm very honest. My husband is home right now, and so he watches the kids. And so I pick and choose like my times. And this is the thing, if you absolutely love something, you will find the time for it, you know? And even when like my husband, you know, worked full-time outside of the home and I was full-time stay-at-home mom, I had both my kids. My daughter's in kindergarten now, so it's a little bit easier, but yeah, I had both my kids at home. I literally would set up my camera and my lights, and then I would put them down for a nap. And then as soon as they fell asleep, I was filming.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's that nap time hustle. You just got to, you know,
I get it. I got you.
But yeah, and then, you know, when I'd edit, I was editing when they were like asleep, or I would, you know, I'd wait on the weekends when my husband was home. And it's like, there's sacrifices, you know, but I still, even sacrificing those hours, I still spend way more time than when I was working outside of the home. You know, I was working 9-10 hours. I had like a 3-hour commute round trip. I lived in the Bay Area, so high traffic. So, you know, I lived an hour away, but you know, it takes a while. Yeah. So I definitely see my kids more, and I'm able to just be like, you know, they need me today, and I'm not going to do anything. I get to unplug. So it's finding balance, really, you know, setting routines. And then just kind of having a support system, you know, and I know that's not easy for everyone, but it's just do what you can. And I think that's another thing. How you do it is, don't compare what you can do to someone else, you know. It's easy for like Catherine Manning, you know, she's single, she's by herself, and she has 2 channels, and she's producing, you know, 3-4 videos a week, but it's like, she can do that, you know? And
just
so
a different, yes, definitely different for everybody. And I guess when it comes to like, even for students, like if you're going into the student world, like they have different schedules, like everybody's has a different schedule. Like even for myself, like I don't have a ton, like I have my kids at school, and, you know, like there's my ability to do more is there now. But like 4 years ago, I wasn't able to do that. I literally did not a lot because I couldn't get away from at that stage, right? So I understand that. It's just interesting to note like everybody's life is different. And I think sometimes we get caught in this fact that, oh, that person is growing right now, or that person is doing so much, I need to be doing content, and then you overwhelm yourself, you know what I mean? So yeah, and that's the other thing though. Like I always say balance. I say, how do you balance it all? But the balance, that word is, we need another word for balance.
Yes.
It's really not like, it's almost like a balance is almost like a perfection. Like the title almost sounds like it's perfect, you know? And I don't think that's it.
Something I say on my motherhood channel, especially because, you know, I mean, I have anxiety and, you know, depression. So I struggle with that. So, and a part of it is a perfectionist side of me, and it kicks in. And so it's like, if it's not perfect, or it's not a certain way, or I feel like I need to do more, I should be doing this, those words really trigger it. But I've started to say, you don't need to do 100% of the things 100% of the time. And that's balance, you know?
That is.
When my content batching week, my house is a mess. Like that's balance, you know. I'm focusing on one area and putting 100% in there, and sometimes the kitchen doesn't get cleaned tonight, you know. as long as my kids are always fed, like that's the important thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I find the balance. So, I only produce videos once a week on navigating YouTube. It's pretty easy to batch that. And then on my other channel, I do, 2 really sit down evergreen videos, and then I kind of vlog throughout. I'm not on a strict schedule, and I came back once I took the break, I came back as more fun, instead of, I was gunning for like, I want to get to 100,000. And then I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, take it easy, like enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Right. So my next question is actually to do with mental health. Now you touched on that a wee bit, because this past year everybody's been struggling, and I know everybody's in the same boat. So like we're riding it together, but at the same time everybody's different, like we mentioned. So for me, I want to start getting into this more and talking about it more, because for me, I struggled a lot this year to, balance, but also to mentally be on track, to keep myself from like focusing on, the numbers and getting overwhelmed, like everything. So for you, how do you, I guess coping is a very generic word, but how do you deal with the mental health aspect and being a creator and being a parent at the same time? Because like we need to take our own step back and figure out for ourselves, how are we going to do this all, because we're only one person, but we're expected so much of us, like as parents we're expected so much. We've got so much riding on our shoulders that the mental health aspect gets pushed to the back. So for you as a creative, how do you deal or cope, should I say? Maybe that's very like over generic wording, but how do you, I guess?
Yeah. I mean, it's different for, I feel like everyone has a mental health, it's a spectrum. And so you're somewhere on the spectrum. Either you are on the positive and you're in a zen, like my brother likes to call it, his zen state, or you are, someone who is on the other side who may need more help and assistance and maybe struggling. And, even struggling looks different. Like people all the time are like, I had no idea you had anxiety and depression. And I'm like, I kind of like mask it with jokes and laughing. People just do different things. And it's funny. Well, not funny, that's a bad term, but it's ironic that most creators actually struggle with like medical anxiety and depression. Like they've been diagnosed or they're on, medication. And it's a creative outlet for us to be able to express ourselves. But then we don't have to like talk to people like face to face, but I think for me too, I started, it's the motherhood community that really like, that's another reason I took a step back. And I was very honest, my audience knows, like, I'm very transparent with them. I do not sugarcoat things. I'm like, look, I'm struggling today. And they're like, thank you. They appreciate that. So they're not alone. And that helps in a weird way. Just kind of blogging about going through, feeling your feelings helps. But I realized I struggled more when like the comparison,
that's what I was gonna say. Maybe it's
you really like, you look at other people in your space and it could be the smallest thing, like, oh, I wish I had her house. And it's like, I don't even like that style of house. Why do I want it? Her house is so pretty. Oh, her cars are so nice. Oh, she is always put together. Oh, how does she? And, as a creative, like I mentioned, I would buy clothes just for a vlog to look better. Like, it's curated. We understand that, but we still look at people and are like, it's so perfect. So you just have to remind yourself that we get to edit, we get to share the highlight reels, what the best part is. And when you remember that, it gets a little bit easier. And then also too, just being like 1000% comfortable that I hear this a lot. I got a negative comment or someone disliked my video, I quit. It's like, not everyone's going to like you. Like, I don't think that's how the world's supposed to work. There's just certain personalities that we just don't mesh with. And, you don't have to be mean to that person, but just know, like, have a good life. We just don't match. It's fine. And that's everyone. So
I think like it comes down to comparison and like, the home situation or whatever, but it also like comparison to maybe the numbers as well. Like, do you think like we as creatives, we want to be creative, we want to have an outlet. This is awesome that we have an outlet, but at the same time, the numbers are always there and it's constantly on your mind. And I think that's where it got to the point where for me, like I took a break over the summer because of like, you know, this year's been brutally like just crazy. Things went a wee bit sideways at the beginning of 2020 with my business. And so things were just piling up. And so like, I think the numbers aspect for me, like I love numbers. I love data. But then all of a sudden one day I was just like, this is just too much. Like I was like that. I'm constantly thinking about the numbers and I was looking at clients too. And just so many numbers and comparisons to different people and different industries. And I think for whenever you talking about comparison there, I was just thinking to myself, like there's a lot of comparison when it comes to numbers and you're sitting down, you're looking at it all the time. And sometimes that gets a little, and then maybe that's social media in itself. Like it's just kind of taking that turn when you want to be a creative. You want to be creative, but at the same time, there's always the numbers aspect. I don't know. You're always trying to grow and be better.
No, it totally makes sense. And I mean, if she's watching this, she already knows. I'm very honest with her. I have a best friend who I was secretly doing YouTube for a while, and I met her, and I guess she wanted to do YouTube, and so we actually kind of started the same year, and she blew up. She has over 300,000 subscribers, and and so she would come to me for help and advice and stuff. And, you know, she's always like, thank you so much. Like, so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I feel like I kind of have a part of that. But at the same time, I'm like, why not me? You know,
there you go. Right.
We started at the same time. Like I help you, you know, I give you advice, the same advice that I do. And, you know, it comes down to just her channel and her situation is so unique, you know, and we talked earlier about, you know, getting started and the personalities. And sometimes people blow up because it's such a unique situation that people haven't seen that before. And it has nothing to do with you. And it's not like, oh, you're boring. You just have to, again, tap into what is your unique situation. And you know, some people Mr. Beast took 4 years before he really started to blow up, I think, something like that.
I think it took him 2 years to get to 1,000 subscribers. So I think that's what I don't remember.
And now he has millions, you know, and so it's like sometimes it takes people longer to find their blow up moment, and others you know, they just, it's fast, you know, and it can slow down. And she has moments where she's like, I'm not growing right now, I'm slowed down. And then she even gets into the comparison trap of, you know, this person, and everyone does it no matter what level you're at. And so, it definitely is social media. And as humans, we're just competitive by nature, I think, even if you don't think you are, it's just ingrained into us that, you know, we're competitive and we compare and kind of like the perfectionist and, but you know, it's just learning to be happy for others, I think, will help, because shaming them is not going to help you grow any faster, or, you know, being upset with them is not going to help you. It's just going to hurt your mental health more. So, you know, just kind of take from them, I guess. That's something I do. If I see someone growing, instead of just being like, okay, why not me? I look to see like, okay, what's their strategy? You know, really go into it that way.
Yeah, that's basically what I do as well. Whenever I go into it, I'm like, well, let's dive into it. I get excited by diving into the channel, and then I do a pro tuber video, and I'm like, okay, awesome, that's awesome.
And one more thing on that one too. It's okay to unfollow people.
Yeah,
like that's what that. If there's a mute button now, there is an unfollow button, you know, and so I'm very big on protecting my space and my mental space. And if I find myself constantly comparing myself to another creator at that moment, I'm not in a good mental health space. So I just mute. You know, like
there's a good point.
Yeah, we're able to curate our own feeds. And, you know, if you're feeling bad when somebody pops up, mute it, you know, really curate your feed to where it brings you happiness and joy, and you get excited and inspired.
That's it. Good point there. I like that. So we touched a little bit on dealing with haters. You kind of mentioned that earlier. And I know beginning of this year, or no, like I would say probably just before the summer, whenever I stopped, I took that break. There was haters, there was a whole bunch of other things in the background. And so I'm not even that huge of a channel, but you know, it's interesting how people take time out of their lives to do such things. But some tips and advice for all of those creators out there that are dealing with that, even like big or small, because whatever size you are, you're going to get people that basically come into your zone and try to knock you down and take you off your feet. So my question to you is, how do you deal with the haters? Yes, I know you mentioned a wee bit earlier, but maybe go a wee bit more in depth.
Yeah. One, I was raised in a family of mostly men. I am one of the few girls. And so I think just by nature, I naturally have a thick skin. I'm also an Aquarius. If you're into that, I'm an ENFJ. I am an Enneagram 3. So I'm like, when you read those, anybody is like, oh yeah, that's you. Those personality traits and stuff, I'm really into that stuff. But we kind of just have like it's most of the time it's a facade though. We just have this strong, barrier. And it came to like, and even in high school, I was always told like, oh, I thought you were such a B until I met you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my face looks like that all the time, right? Like, I don't know, like, yeah, I always got it. And so I think too, just always hearing like negative stuff growing up, being teased, about anything and everything, it prepared me for YouTube. But, I was talking to another creator too, and I was like, I thought I had thick skin, and then I came on a YouTube and I had to throw on 3 more layers. Like, it gets rough sometimes. But, for me, I think of a couple of things. One, is that person doing what you're doing? Because it's hard and it's easy to sit behind a keyboard and, have a bad day. Maybe they're having a bad day, happy people or unhappy people don't like seeing happy people. That's what it is, So what's going on in their day? And, two, I think a lot of times we get very protective of our videos. And so a constructive criticism comes across as a troll or a hater. So really think, are they being constructive and can I take this feedback and make my next video better? Or are they just being a jerk, So yeah, that's something else that you can do, kind of just examine. And then the last thing I really think about is, are they in a position where I would want to switch places with them? So I would want to take their advice. And for like, if Sunny Lenarduzzi came to me and said something like, you did right, I'm like, okay, let me fix that, but if some letter, just random, those random troll letters left a comment on my video, I'm probably like, okay, have a nice day. And it really depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Depends on how I respond. Sometimes I'm in a playful mood and I kill them with kindness, or what's called feeding the trolls. So you're just like, okay, buddy, have a nice day. Others I just block and delete if I'm like, I'm just not in the mood, or I just leave it. But for me, you always hear like comments or engagement and it helps and stuff, but I like to delete stuff, not because it's like, oh, you hurt my feelings, but again, because I do, especially on my motherhood channel, I've gotten some weird comments over there, but especially because my space is helping other moms who struggle with mental health. I think if someone else read this, would it affect them? And if the answer is yes, I delete it because I don't want that in that space. So yeah, that's kind of how it is, but you just have to, like, I know it sucks, but like, you can't take anything to heart, and just know like it's nothing you're doing. But again, really look to see, is it constructive or is it just troll?
Right. Going back to like you saying, oh, people thought you were like a bee or whatever when they first met you. And it's so interesting because I get that all the time, which is weird. I don't know. I come across like, maybe I'm just like sitting there and I'm like,
it's
looking
our
at
face.
people. It's
maybe when we're relaxed.
I know. I just need just chilling. Jeez. But my husband has even said like sometimes you can come across like a little like even the way I say things, but I'm from a different country, so I moved to Canada, right? So for me to say something like when I joke, it's like funny over in the UK, but here it's totally it goes over their head. And luckily my husband understands me because him and I have the same kind of like jokey kind of thing. But whenever I go to someone else, they're like, okay, like you're not understanding and they think I'm being rude. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't, like that's the same thing. Like I feel like sometimes you come across and you don't realize it, right? But yeah, no, when it comes to haters, I think this past year, everybody's been dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. And like you've got TikTok that's huge now too. And that's a whole different world of negativity.
I tried.
No.
It's worse than Reddit. Like Reddit gets pretty bad too.
Like, okay, someone hurt you today or you chose violence, you know what I mean? So Yeah, no, that's a question that I wanted to ask, because it also ties into the mental health side of things. You know, like comparison, but we're also getting the negativity, and you could get like 10 negative comments and 100 positive, but the 10 negative
it hurts.
The ones you look at.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just interesting to see the perspective that someone else takes for it, especially having not one, but 2 channels even, and giving some, you know, tips there. So that's really cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I am too. For lifestyle bloggers, this is I know we're moving on, but lifestyle bloggers specifically, something that you have to remember is you don't have to share everything. And I think you have to really be conscious, because sometimes we tend to overshare. It's just our personality. And people can use that against us and try to attack us. So we are very open with our insecurities. And so they will use that to, you know, comment or attack you, or be a troll that day. And, you know, we forgot 3 vlogs ago, we mentioned that. And so it's like, oh, everyone sees me like this. And it's like, no, you mentioned it, and they just happen to catch you on a bad day. And, you know, again, just like you can mute people, it's okay to unplug. You know, if you're having a bad day, I really assess where my brain is at, and I try not to jump on social media right away until like I've had my coffee and I'm in a better spot. And then I'm like, let's go read some comments. But if I'm in a bad mood, I'm like, we're staying off today.
Let's dive into that.
that helps too.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get into the rapid fire here. I've got some rapid fire questions. There's only like 5, so get excited. Woo!
This is where my brain shuts down. Okay.
Okay, so awesome. So the first question is, what's your favorite coffee?
Oh my God. So Dutch Bros, I'm in love with Dutch Bros right now. It's actually a TikTok drink. So it is a half annihilator, half kicker with a soft top. It's amazing.
Okay. I have no idea what that is. That sounds amazing. So you're gonna have to DM.
It's like macadamian Irish cream mixture. It's amazing. You guys go, if you have a Dutch Bros, go get it. If not, if you have Starbucks, just like a pumpkin cold brew is fine.
I'm into coffee, so we're gonna have to look that one up. Red or blue?
Ooh, blue.
Okay. Would you rather a Monday or a Friday?
Oh, Monday. Mondays get bad raps, but Monday.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I like this question.
Yeah.
Your favorite book right now?
Oh my God. Okay, I actually just stopped reading. But I don't know. Okay, we're just going to, I need to start this, and I love her, and she's actually a creator. So it's called Start, Suck, and Get Better by Desiree Martinez. So if you guys have not, it's right here. I'm like, it's my next book to read. I just finished a book. I try to go like self-help, self-improvement, and then one like fantasy, because I'm into those.
Fun, just to break it up, you know.
So I just finished the fantasy one. I get into like murder mystery craziness.
Interesting. We're learning something new here. I like it. And lastly, your favorite YouTube channel right now?
Oh, there's so many, but Rachel Lee A. She spells it all together. She's a lifestyle design, really into organization. Her videos are so calming. She's an inspiration for my own channel. But yeah, Rachel Lee A. She's amazing.
Awesome. So you got to go look it up then, guys.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you so much, Tiffany. I really appreciate that's it for the podcast today. We just wanted to talk to someone, you know, outside of my, you know, my normal speaking. Like I do one-on-one podcasts usually, and I just wanted to break it up a little bit and, you know, connect with some other creators that maybe you guys may know or you may not. I will link Tiffany's stuff below. Tiffany, where can they find you? Do you have other social media platforms outside of YouTube that they can find you on?
Yes. So I'm always on Instagram, even though I consider myself a YouTuber, but tiffanyday.co is where you can find me. And then my motherhood channel is just my first and last name, Tiffany Day, although there's 2 of them. So if you put mom at the end, you'll find me. And then of course, navigating YouTube, where you can find all of the lifestyle YouTube tips.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked it, make sure you hit the subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And also, I don't do this enough, but follow me on Instagram too. I'm on catherineperry.co, just like tiffanyday.co, right? That's it?
Yeah.
Tiffanyday.co. There we go.
The .co. I don't know. It's like this year, everyone went .co, and I love it.
.co. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate taking time for having me. I know you're so busy, but thank you so much. And yes, As always, guys, don't forget to create adventure and live inspire. Have a good one.